Then it all comes crashing in and reminds me of the past. And sometimes I hear your name. Sometimes I hear your name. It reminds me of the pain. Well, I guess you read me right, 'cause I am a foolish man. But at least I understand. But at least I understand. And I've learned to live with it. Memories like grains of sand, lying helpless on the beach. But the ones you need so bad, are the ones you cannot reach.
Hello, everybody. Let me turn that down a little bit. I picked a hell of a night to go live. There's major storms going on in Oklahoma right now. A few of our friends are right in the middle of them, unfortunately. So keep them in your prayers and wish them well. Because they are getting hit hard right now. Very hard. Very, very, very strong storm. How you doing, Hector?
Hey.
You doing, Brian? Hello, Angel. By the way, everybody, I cannot see the chat very well because I am actually looking at it with one eyeball at the moment. So if I don't catch you and see you, I'm not ignoring you. I just literally have a hard time reading the chat at the moment.
No problem.
That'll be Hector's job. He can read the chat and see if I missed anything.
Always me.
Always you, Hector. You volunteer for everything, guy. But anyways, the discussion tonight, as I posted in there, will be about something I seen on Trialsite News this evening.
Trialsite. What they say?
Pardon?
What they say?
Well, that's what I'm going to talk about.
Oh, you're getting excited.
Listen up, Hector. Come on, don't get ahead of the game, guy.
I'm just asking.
Well, that's what I'm going to be discussing, Hector.
Okay.
So I'm going to be keeping the discussion at that.
Okay.
Hello, Chaplain.
Hey.
Good evening. So I'm going to be keeping the discussion at that. Oh, somebody's got an echo.
Okay.
Hello, Chaplain.
What I did.
All right, I got you.
I got it.
Keep our friends in your prayers there, Chaplain.
Your friends?
Yeah, in Oklahoma, they're getting pounded right now with some
Oh yeah, I got
major storms. Nexus and Pat Pfeiffer and a couple other ones are right in the thick of it. They're talking like 100+ mile an hour winds without tornadoes. And there's tornadoes all over the place down there right now.
I just
Let me check into that.
Nexus right now the winds are at
I've been
29.
kind of not watching the news today, kind of on purpose, but camera.
Vic BC Live has a radar up, and Nexus is on there, or he was on there at the moment. I picked a hell of a night to go live, I tell you. You can never predict that kind of stuff. But had I known it, I wouldn't have went live tonight.
Yeah, I thought I heard about or seen red cactus and your wife talking about that.
Yep. Yeah, no kidding, Gary. I can't believe the storm chasers are passing semis, and I can't believe they're still on the road with 100-mile-an-hour gusts.
That's crazy.
I think one of them, Nexus confirmed, was like 111 and 114. So it's like, no, thank you. There's no way I'd be on the road with a semi. No way.
Nope. I'm too chicken to go in bad weather. I scared to death of winds.
Oh, I'd have been in my truck and somewhere else.
Get me the heck out of here and don't spare the ponies.
Yep. I'd be heading the other direction, finding me a hotel for the night. Be a good excuse to take the wife somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Honey, I think we gotta get the heck out of here and go someplace.
Well, I got too many 60 to 100-foot trees around my house that are way too close for me to be hanging around with that kind of stuff.
We were just talking about a tree yesterday in our yard. The neighbor next door has got about I'll say probably about the same, about 60-foot tree next to my shed. And I said, the first thing you want to go If it falls that way, my shed will be destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
So he needs to trim that tree.
Yeah, no doubt.
We've had, what, 2 fall on our pole?
I'm just waiting on Brian to get back so we can kind of just have open discussion until Brian gets back.
Oh, he's back.
Oh,
Just got back.
sneaky little bugger. Sneaky bugger.
Oh, I
I'm
was
going to
listening.
peel myself off the ceiling.
I'm always listening.
The reason I wanted Brian up here is because he has a different perspective. He was pretty much forced to take the initial ones.
The
And,
initial double series.
Yep. You've not taken any since then, though, correct, Brian?
Oh God, not a chance.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Did you get a chance to watch that?
yes, I did.
Okay, good. So me and you are on the same page while we're discussing this.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I might be a little more. I might be a little more angry than you are, but.
Oh, I can imagine. I can. Well, I've got a daughter and my grandchildren that have this, so trust me, I'm not without my my eyes do turn red when I think about it.
Yeah. The only thing.
Unfortunately, Chaplain, I think things that probably aren't so nice.
No,
The only thing that keeps
they're
me
not
going.
really.
The only thing that keeps me going is the fact that because I took it, 10 others didn't have to take it.
Well, that's an admirable thing and a good thing. And the other good thing about it is it does seem to be time related. So you should be out of the woods.
I figure I am out of the, I think I got lucky and had nothing but a little sore arm for a few hours, but
Yep.
So
let me ask you this, Brian. What's your initial takeaway about what they just?
Lying bastards is what I think. That's my initial takeaway.
What he's referring to is the CDC, and I can say these things because they did too, and I put the sources up there so YouTube can kiss my happy white rear end. And this is, believe it or not a replacement for a doctor. None of us up here are doctors, so make sure you take the advice of your doctors. This is just open discussion about information that we've been presented that is posted on YouTube and is sourced. My takeaway is they're not hiding the data; they're just ignoring it.
I don't agree with you there because of the Freedom of Information Act.
Well, yes, I'll agree. It had to be invoked.
It showed that they were hiding it.
Yes, that I will agree with you with. What I'm speaking of is their the assessments that they used.
I have a phone call coming in.
All right, go ahead.
Okay.
I'll explain what we're talking about there. The assessments that they used supposedly were based upon numbers that they have at the FDA and the CDC and stuff off the VAERS and a couple other sources. Morning, Steve. And they use certain SOPs or protocols to assess that data. And they were claiming that there is no indications of any problems. But yet their own data, which was pulled out from the Freedom of Information Act, shows otherwise. In the VAERS, this was not discussed, but it's something I will bring up. It's suggested that the VAERS reporting is anywhere between only 1% and 10% at most. So that means it's anywhere between a factor of 10 and a factor of 100 off. So that means if they have 20 reports, there's likely to be 200. Or if they have 200 reports, there's likely to be 2,000. So in their own in their own numbers, they're well beyond the standards that there's a signal that there is a problem. So that's what we were talking about there, about them, where I say they were ignoring and Brian was saying hiding. And in both cases, it's actually correct. They weren't exactly forthcoming with it, but in the same token, they're actually ignoring the signals in their own data and not just one source. Which, you know, there's suggestive studies in other countries and stuff like that that confirms the same thing, or I should say alludes to the same things that we're talking about. The one good thing is there is I believe a board member by the name of Dr. Claire Lee, who is calling them out, wants the transparency about the data. Where's the data? She's questioning why they're using bivalent. That's using the old, shall we say, recipe, or the protein, spike protein from the original, and using it with one that is also outdated by just it isn't a strain that is prevalent in the public anymore, when they already know that the newest ones are pretty good at avoiding that or bypassing it. The other thing that kind of disturbs me is when they talk about when you get that, it only stays for a couple days in a local environment, which is now proven to be not true. It can stay into your system at this moment for up to 4 months, they're saying, possibly. And if you keep up with the updates and the boosters, you can actually go into a negative, shall we say, protection. It actually makes you more vulnerable because it kind of screws with your immune system.
That's right.
Yes, I have too. My former doctor actually refused to too, and he no longer has his practice where he was, unfortunately. And that's another thing that I'm not even going to get into that just makes me see red. So anyways, as I said, if you haven't watched what I'm speaking of, it is posted in the description. I would wholeheartedly suggest you watch. It's only an hour long. A lot of good information there and a lot of questions being asked that needed to be asked a long time ago. Another thing that bugs me is there's no approval nor actual studies for the stuff they're putting out. And
That's true.
it's a little, I'm trying to figure out how they get around using the emergency act as qualification for putting them out, because it has not been approved by the FDA, the ones that they're using now, and they're running it under the original, and I'd like to know how that's legal. That just isn't in my mind. How do you get something approved? That's like saying, well, we're going to give you Coca-Cola, but since Coca-Cola didn't, then we're going to turn around and you end up with apple juice or orange pop. Yeah, no ingredient list either, Anna. You're very correct. Hello, Rudy. How you doing? Good to see you here, bud. And that's another big problem I have with that. And it seems to be this Dr. Lee has the same problem too, that they're making all these claims, as we all know, In the beginning, they claimed, well, you got to get this to stop grandma, protect grandma, and then this will stop it. You get the jab and it stops with you. Well, that was a lie. Then they said, well, it will, only, do so much and help you from you won't get hospitalized. Well, that was a lie. Well, no, it keep you from dying from it. Well, that was a lie.
Yeah.
And the claim is that if you get it, that it protects you more than anything else. Well, it's now coming out that natural immunity, if you've had it, is as good, if not better. And if you keep getting the boosters, it can actually lead to a detriment of that. And the thing about it is all these claims they make about, well, it'll protect you from this, it'll protect you from that. There's no scientific basis behind it.
That's right.
There's no studies. There's no approved clinical trials or nothing behind any of it. And that's what that video talks about that I have in the description. You can jump in anytime you want, Brian, if you want to add anything I'm saying at the moment.
Well, yeah, it's everything. It's definitely worth a watch, that video. It was a lot to take in just one viewing. Yeah, but they're even this. I don't know. I sort of missed a little bit what you said, but even this benevolent or benevolent, whatever they call it, is
Bivalent.
Bivalent is still under emergency use.
Yeah, and I'd like to know how they're using that under emergency use when it isn't the original. It's not FDA approved. That's why I said that's like they offering you Coke and you end up with orange juice. That doesn't seem kosher to me. Well,
the funny thing is, people are under the impression that there is a fully approved FDA vaccine.
Yes, and there's not.
And there isn't. Because if there was, we still wouldn't be under the emergency use.
Correct.
And they get away with that by brand naming. Like for Pfizer, it's Comirnaty, but you will not see that labeling on any of the vials. And
no, because they can't, because they don't have a definitive ingredients list. They keep changing it.
Well, they have the ingredients list. I just think they don't have that. They don't have the numbers to back it up, the studies to back it up.
Well, they're constantly changing. It started out with a monovalent, meaning the original strain.
Yeah.
And then now we know that they've been manipulating the spike proteins. And now you have the bivalent, which is 2 strains, of which neither one are the current strain that's running in the wild.
Yeah. But you still have to have the original 2 series. In order to be considered up to date, you would have to get the original 2 series plus the new one, and you're still a couple of versions behind.
No.
Yeah. True. And the thing of it is, it doesn't do anything that they claim, or at least they did claim. I should say. I need to rephrase that.
Well,
the goalposts have been changing through this whole thing, and now, you don't know what the effects are of the broken RNA chains that are in there, because now it's like, I think down to like they accept 50%, I believe. That has to be a full chain. The rest are all partial chains. And okay, how is that affecting a system? Just because it's a partial chain doesn't mean it's not being coded.
Well, the biggest surprise is when they got the information through the Freedom of Information Act, where it came out and how did they say it?
Get him a pig's ear and put him over there, please.
Oh God, my mind is going blank here. Help me out here. A point at where it triggers more investigation, or could stop the
efficacy?
no, it's not the efficacy. There's a number. They had a couple of numbers where they said if it reaches this number.
Oh yeah, I can't remember the exact name of that, but yeah, I understand what you're saying.
And
they blew past that a long time ago.
Yeah, through the Freedom of Information Act, the numbers off the VAERS was way over.
Yeah, and that's what I was pointing out too to people, is that even with the VAERS, their own data, that's their own data, their own CDC's data.
Yeah.
And as I said, the reporting on that is between 1% and 10%.
Yeah.
So it was already well past what's the real numbers.
Yeah. But
and these people aren't stupid. They know what the hell they're talking about.
That's where the CDC and the FDA lied, saying they looked at those numbers and didn't see any concerns.
Correct. And they just ignored what it said. They didn't see any signals.
And yet when they got the information from the Freedom of Information Act, it showed that there were signals.
Yeah, by their own standards. Yep. And not just a little bit, a whole bunch of it.
A whole bunch of it. And there was a study that just came out of Denmark about finding the spike protein in blood.
Correct.
And the significance of the Denmark study was that right at the beginning, their protocol was to aspirate the needle before injection. So they knew that they weren't actually putting it into blood vessels or into any vein. So they're finding the spike protein in the bloodstream 28 days after, when they said hours, possibly days.
Yeah, they said hours at most days, but that's been shown to be false. And I'm looking here. I took a note of that.
So now the next study they're doing is they have to see these spike proteins and see if they're still wrapped in the liponanoparticle. And if they're not, that is proof that the spike protein is replicating.
Correct. And I believe that's already been shown.
I haven't seen any studies on that.
Well, they're showing that it actually is being converted to DNA, I believe, in the liver, so it has to be.
I'll have to go look for that one.
I can't cite the study right at the moment, but if memory serves me correct, that is the case. They're finding it people all throughout their body because it can pass the blood-brain barrier, which one of the points they were talking about in this was strokes.
My sister-in-law had a stroke.
Yeah.
So first off, they said it wouldn't. It would stay local. It would be into your arm, into your lymph node under your armpit. That's where it would go. And then they found out that it went further through the body. But that's well, it goes further, but it doesn't go into the bloodstream. And now they're finding it in the bloodstream.
Yes.
And the reason for that,
weeks later.
Yeah, and the best way I can explain it is that the lipo nanoparticles are so small, it's able to escape from the tissue into blood cells. Same as the way storing
Hi,
hydrogen.
guys.
You can't store hydrogen because the
Yeah, now,
molecules
Hector.
are so.
Yeah.
All right, we'll talk to you later, Hector.
Hector.
Yeah.
Have a
You know,
good
it's the
one,
same-
buddy.
It's the same as hydrogen. You can't store hydrogen because the molecules are so small.
Yes.
It
Yes.
leaks
Try to
right
explain it
through
to
the
somebody who
container,
didn't
right?
understand it.
Right.
How can a liquid seep through steel? Very
Yeah.
easily.
Mhm.
But nobody,
You know, then I show them the superfluid video and it freaks them right out.
yeah, nobody seems to dispute those facts, right? Once you tell them, them. So
Well, as I said, this is just for discussion and
yeah,
about it from people from both sides. I myself haven't had any. I know Chaplin has, and I know you have.
yeah,
That's why I wanted, you guys to be up here to speak from a point of view of being in the mix of it. You know, I can't speak from that. I can only
yeah.
speak from my family, but not for myself.
Well, I don't know. Chaplin's reason for it. I was fighting against this, and like I from what I knew and what I was being told, it didn't make any sense to me at all, right from day one. But I was down to my last dime, and because I was out of work and I was down to my last dime, and because of the fact that I held off until I was let go, I was not entitled to any kind of government support.
Yeah, imagine that.
Employment insurance, which I've paid into for 45 years. I couldn't get any government assistance, any of the pandemic relief money. I wouldn't even be able to go and get like a one-time welfare. So
You want to address any of that, Chaplain?
Well, you guys are pretty well covering it right now. I just know that when I had
Or were
COVID,
you just kind of forced to?
I know when I had COVID a few weeks ago, my doctor told me at the time, he says, what you have is that Omni one,
Yeah,
the very last one they came up with. This
Yeah, Omicron.
Omicron. Yeah, couldn't they? Yeah, Omicron. And I said, well, what can you tell me without me telling you? Can you tell me why I had stomach pains before anything else happened? He says, really, that is not the way it usually starts. You start coming up with a low grade fever and your chest gets really tight. I said, that's not how it started with me. It started with belly ache. Basically, I was really sick to my stomach. And then it went into my chest. So is it possible that this virus was in my intestines and went up into my chest? He said anything's possible with this stupid thing.
So Chaplain, may I ask why you chose to get the vaccine, or was it a choice? I guess.
It was a choice, but I talked it over with my doctor and made a matter of prayer and all that. And I just told him, I says, well, what is this going to do to me if I do take it? He says, well, it'll keep you, from getting worse symptoms from it, is what the way it was explained to me. I said, oh, so I still could get it even though I get the vaccine. Okay. I went ahead and got it. After that, I wish I had enough.
So was this an approx? Was this early on in the?
Oh yeah, this is when it first came out in March of the year. In fact, in March, right after they discovered it, when they came out with the drug. I had to
Well,
take one on March the 6th and then the second one on April the 6th, which was on my wife's birthday. That's how I know this.
So that would be of March of 2021.
Yep.
Okay.
It wasn't 2020. It was 2021.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Basically a year after it was kind of announced. Well, it was like January or something, wasn't it? When
January was when officially announced. It had already been out in the wild, though.
Yeah.
Well, the thing that killed me is that the governor of our state shut everything down. I mean, just shut everything down.
Even, just so you know, me and Chaplin live in the same state.
Okay.
She shut down all public business and private business,
except for the big, large corporations.
Yeah, the big ticket stores were open, but you couldn't buy paint or building supplies.
Yeah. Or gardening supplies.
You know, when we're cooped up, the very thing you want to do is work on your house. So she shut that off. And the one that really got me was the outboard motors. Couldn't allow anybody to run an outboard motor in the lake.
Yep.
Well, how the heck's that going to affect you with COVID? You see strange things like that, and they're just testing out the waters to see.
But she's fierce.
Yeah, that's what my wife just said. She's fierce. She's fierce, all right.
Well, I seen the mix of information coming on right from day one.
I'm not on the camera.
And so it wasn't. It's not that I'm an anti-vaxxer. I've had all my life. I've had shots, and I've had over the years in construction. I've had to keep my tetanus up to date and things like that. But there was the way they were putting out information on this one. Could just my mind just couldn't. I just couldn't wrap my mind around how there was so much contradiction in information on how.
And unfortunately, Brian, there wasn't any information coming out.
Oh well, actually there was if you knew where to look. And right off the bat, right off the bat, all of a sudden you're seeing they're changing the definition of a vaccine.
Oh no! What I was saying is, we knew where to find the information, but the mainstream media wasn't saying that.
Oh no!
To the plebs, to everyone else.
Well, the interesting
G'day, Jeffrey. How you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Good. You prefer Jethro or Chaplin?
Oh, Jethro's fine, or Jeff, or actually, my name is actually Jeff. So.
Oh, it's what?
This is a nickname my brother-in-law tacked on me, Jethro.
Oh, okay, what's that? What's your real name?
Jeff.
Jeff.
Yeah.
As in Jeff?
Yep.
Okay, good. I'll call you Jeff. Excellent. I don't think we have too many Jeffs in the community.
I'm sorry.
I said I don't think we have too many Jeffs in the community. That's all.
No, but everybody calls me Jethro or Chaplin or whatever. Don't call me late for dinner.
I wonder why, right? I wonder why they would call you Chaplin or Jethro.
Whatever. Don't call me late for din.
No.
So go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, but like it just didn't make sense. And then I started looking into mRNA technology.
Yeah, that was the first thing I did.
Right? So they actually did a quick study that went nowhere on mRNA technology for rabies. And it just didn't end up. It was definitely an incomplete study. But I'm thinking, okay, so this will be the first time that the mRNA technology is going to be used as a vaccine. So there is absolutely no studies they can even draw from to know any kind of short-term or long-term studies.
Right.
So that just didn't sit well. They couldn't even know the short-term studies. And then when you start looking at once it came out, of course, just knowing that, I'm not going to be the first in there to take it.
No.
And then you find I held out long enough to find out, well, yeah, well, there was this many people in the study, but this many people dropped out. We're not getting all the information on the studies. And of course, we should, I'm always a little skeptical of what government says, and like everybody should be. You should never trust anything that comes out of the mouth of government or corporate America or corporate Canada.
I think even before the mRNA technology was even discussed, what about the guy that developed PCR tests? Even said it's not appropriate for this particular testing, but they still ran with that.
Well, there's another thing that goes on the list of what's going on, right? And it wasn't just one little thing that said, "Oh, be wary." It was all these things I was finding, all these well, they're not little things, but all these things I was finding out about it just didn't add up to safe and effective.
It wasn't until a New South Wales minister, Premier, I think it was at the time, revealed that the QR codes, they weren't actually they weren't actually tracking the QR codes. It was just another way of controlling people.
Yeah. I mean, exactly. I mean, I of course, because I ended up being vaccinated, I had my QR code, but I never used it. I refused to go into any business that required it.
Yeah, I was the same. Like I went through the whole pandemic without a mask on in Australia. Everybody else, because I knew that they were coming up with little loopholes all the time that I could exploit. They said, well, if you're drinking a cup of coffee, you don't need to wear a mask. So I just carried it. I literally carried a cup of coffee for 3 fucking years everywhere I went. And they pointed to me, "Where's your mask?" I went, "There's my coffee." And the number of times I had coppers walk up to me and actually physically open up my little container to ensure that I actually did have coffee in it.
You got to be kidding me! Holy smokes!
Not joking. Yeah, they would actually physically open up my container. They said it's cold. I said, I don't care. I prefer iced coffee. Well, they can't say nothing about that, can they?
No.
You know, like over in Australia, it got that bad over here. You could go to a pub or club. You could not stand in a pub or club, but you could only sit with a mask off.
Oh, same here in Canada.
How stupid's that? That almost reminded me of the days that you guys are clearly my vintage as well. When they used to have smoking sections on planes.
Yeah.
What was it? What was the smoking section divided by? A fucking curtain.
And sometimes not even a curtain.
Yeah, you understand what I'm getting? That's. See, this is unfortunately the world. Some of the people are a lot of people don't remember those times.
Yeah.
Or aren't aware that's what it was like when we were growing up.
Yeah. Oh yeah, smoking. Well, when I first started smoking, there was no smoking sections, and then they went to a smoking section.
Yeah, but the smoking section in a restaurant was just to one side. There wasn't there wasn't any extra fans or exhaust fans over the top of you. You were literally one table away from the non-smokers.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's Anne in the chat. I worked at a Swiss chalet. We had an invisible non-smoking line. That's
almost that almost reminds you of the US Canadian border.
Yeah.
That's just an invisible line.
It is.
But everyone suddenly realizes, oh shit, I can't cross the border. I'm thinking you're divided by maybe a 3-foot high barbed wire fence. Fuck me, really?
Oh no, not even most places. There's nothing.
But I'm just saying, in some places, it could be only a 3-foot high barbed wire fence.
Yeah.
But everyone knows not to step over it because it's going to be bad. Like you're doing something wrong. Well, yeah. Hey, hello.
Oh yeah, like I mean, I know lots of places where it's just like survey markers, right? But you know, if you're respecting the law, you don't go across, right?
Correct. And that's how they manipulated a lot of people. This invisible boogeyman is now going to be out there rampantly killing people.
Yeah.
You know, like doctors, most doctors and surgeons only wear surgical masks to stop the patient from getting ill.
Yeah. It's
not, you know, like, oh yeah, it's mind-boggling what people's perception of reality really is.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And it was, it was all these little things. I keep calling them little things. In my mind, they were significant things that just weren't adding up. And it was just, just one after the other. And then people denying that Biden and the mainstream media were saying that if you get the vax, you won't get COVID.
Yeah, I actually had a video on my channel that had clips of all that, and YouTube took it down for copyright.
Yeah, I've got it saved on my Twitter account.
I know I've shared a video with Robert of a current thing happening right now in Australia, in Melbourne, Victoria, Australia. There's a lady, she was on the heart transplant list. She was diagnosed for a heart transplant in 2020. Now they've said to her, you need 3 jabs before you can get a heart transplant. Wow. And this lady even has an exemption from her cardiologist saying no. no, she's got, and the Victorian government has said no. This is the new policy. You need any procedures whatsoever. You need 3 jabs. And so now she's just basically in limbo now, because she refuses to get the jab.
Yeah, and the first 2 are designed for the alpha beta, which is no longer existing. So how is that even logical?
It's not, but that's what the current policy is now. The current policy said you want any life-threatening operations now, you need to have at least 3 jabs.
Yeah.
Let me address something. Let me address something here real quick. TPR. I am not anti-vaccine, and I've had all of my other vaccinations up, other than this one. I know vaccines that are correctly done work. There's no doubt about it. I question this one heavily for many good reasons. And what we're speaking about isn't bad science. The description to the talk is in there. All the information is there. And even out of Fauci's own mouth, he claims that this is not effective in controlling the virus. So,
saying that now.
Yeah, he's saying that now that he's retired. So it's not that this is not about being anti-vax, and it's not about being anti-science. Absolutely not. I mean, that's not what this discussion is about.
No, this discussion is about the lack of science done on this.
Correct. Yeah, now there's a hoot, Andy. That right there is a hoot. You need to be jabbed to get assisted suicide. Oh, yeah, you just can't make this shit up.
Well, wouldn't that be considered part of the suicide?
That's Oklahoma.
And I agree with him, but the reason there's a problem with polio isn't bad science is because when they were doing it in these third world countries, they were doing other things other than just polio vaccination. That's what put the problem in.
Green.
So, but that's all left to another debate. That's not part of what this discussion is about. Back to the video at hand that we're speaking of. They have the charts and everything right from the CDC's own websites that shows all this information from their own data. So it certainly is not what I would call bad science if their own data shows it.
Unfortunately, their outcomes don't make the vaccines look good.
Well, one, I have a real problem with it being called vaccine because they had to define it to call it a vaccine because it doesn't stop you from catching it, nor does it stop you from transmitting it, which was the definition of a vaccine.
True.
And, there is no confirmed data that it even is any better than natural immunity when it comes to keep you from hospitalization and or death.
Well, there's another new study that just came out where natural immunity, they don't come out and quite say it.
It's as good as
and possibly better.
Yeah, but then they love putting that last bit in, but to be ensured that if you do get the protection, get the jab. They always slip that last bit in.
Yeah, well, it's because it's hard data, so the narrative won't allow them to say that it's better than your immunity is better than a vaccine, because it doesn't play into the narrative.
Correct.
Well, and the other thing is they speak of vaccine hesitancy now. And gee, I wonder why. That's why I wanted to address what the practice room said, because they only have themselves to thank for that. When you portray something as something it isn't, and which they've made many claims right from the beginning of this, that they've continuously had to retract and backpedal and all this stuff. And that's no big secret. You were first told that, hey, it'll stop you from getting it. Hey, it'll stop you from getting sick. Hey, it'll stop you from passing it along. All those were lies.
Well, the issue I have is what they're doing now is, well, nobody, they have the excuse, well, nobody really knew what was going on.
Bullshit. That's already been put out by the Pfizer documents.
Yeah. I mean, we've only lately been able to see the Pfizer documents.
And why else would they want to suppress those Pfizer documents for 75 years?
Yeah, exactly.
Hello.
Because I'll tell you why. Is because people wouldn't be able to know how to interpret the data. That's why.
If there was any responsibility to be brought up, they'd be long gone anyway.
Yeah. Well, see that. I mean, I'm only stating what the excuses are from the other side, right?
Yeah.
People will misinterpret the data, is what their excuse was, or their reason behind not wanting the data let out to the general public, because the general public isn't smart enough to interpret that.
Right. Yeah, nobody in the general public knows how to read scientific published papers, right?
Yeah.
And I love they said, if you have any form of hesitancy, do your own research. They always preach that. Do your own research to take away your hesitancy. So you go and approach a doctor, and he says to you that goes against the narrative, and then they take the license off that doctor for not pushing what they wanted to say. You're thinking, well, he gave me his recommendation. He said, don't take it. And now you're going to punish him because he didn't push your agenda. Well, what's going on? Where is it fair? Where's the logic there?
Yeah. Go do your own research. Oh, you've done your research. Oh, you're wrong, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Like your doctor, Robert.
Yep.
Your doctor is a classic example. He's been your doctor for bloody years, and he had to leave his practice because he knew that. Yeah, you know what I mean. Hey.
Yeah, that's another contention that if your own doctor is not allowed to have his own opinion, what the hell do we have a doctor for? I guess we all go to the government and the politicians to have our diagnoses now. Is that how it works?
I'm just going to give a quick shout. G'day, Martha. G'day, Beezy. G'day, James.
Easy, Martha.
G'day, Casey. I said Beezy. How is everyone today? Thanks for joining the panel.
Yeah, it's like coming out now with these with like the video that you're referring to, showing that they outright lied, and then they kind of lied by not lying without saying anything,
Yeah,
right?
by omission.
Yeah. And I mean, there's a a good example. I haven't had time to go and actually look at the documents that they showed. I'm gonna go find them and have a quick look, just so that that I feel 100% sure. There was nothing there that sort of put up a red flag from the presenters. But
Well, the slides were right from the CDC themselves.
Yeah.
Also, Brian, archaeologists can determine the cause of death of a mummy that died 6,000 bloody years ago, but our current medical system has to put things down to died suddenly and unknown deaths. Thinking, well, you do have the technology to know what caused it. Why can't you put it into a proper category, not just go, died suddenly.
Well,
that's it. That's close enough.
Just a little quick here in Alberta, Canada, in 2019, leading cause of death or unknown cause of death wasn't even a thing.
Correct.
So in 2020, unknown cause of death went up to, it hit the top 30 at number 10. And then it went up in 2021, went up to the third leading cause of death. And in 2022, it was the number one leading cause of death in Alberta.
Doesn't that say something about a cover-up? That in itself.
Well, maybe not. I won't say a cover-up, but definitely no scientific explanation at this point in time.
Well, yeah, I mean the numbers are there, and they're very concerning numbers, because when something becomes the leading cause of death, should it not be looked into?
I think the astonishing thing was hearing things and reading things about a person can be hit by a pedestrian could be struck by a car and killed, but if they were tested to have COVID, it would go down as a COVID death. I'm thinking to myself, are they trying to reduce the stats on other things to make them less bad? Like, really? That's pretty obvious. In the past, if you're struck by a car and you die, they already had a category for that.
Yeah, death hit by car, right?
Correct.
But yeah, it's, you can even without, you get people saying, and I'm not going to debate whether it's true or not true, that the medical community gets more money for a COVID death. True, not true, I don't really care, and I'm not looking for an opinion. But what it does do, it adds to the narrative of this is a deadly disease. It's worth it. That one number, it's worth its money in gold as far as fear.
Correct. Absolutely
correct. No, I totally agree with you on that.
And when they did all these studies, and when they were looking for in the very beginning of COVID, anybody to do with mental health, authorities on mental health, were not consulted in this whole thing.
Well, therein lies a big rub, Brian. Politics took over the medical field. Politics was taken over by the pharmaceutical industry.
Yeah.
So you were totally disconnected as far as the medical field goes from making individual determinations as to what was best for the patient. It
Yeah.
became a government controlled, you will follow these types of things, you will do this, you will do that, a la mandates, which are not laws, which I don't understand why they were even regarded as that. How law enforcement could get involved with something that was not a law just blows my mind. And how that has not ended up in court and been just blown right out of the water. There were some major lawsuits. I suspect may come in the future anyway.
Oh yeah.
So
you know,
a whole other can of worms.
the lawsuits have to come, because if the lawsuits don't come, we can only imagine what'll happen.
But the thing is also too, you have to understand, Brian, there already is and has been lawsuits, but they've all been settled out of court to suppress the news as well.
Yeah. Well, here's an example. You guys are familiar with the Commission on the Emergencies Act, and it came out that
Yep.
that our government was just in implementing it. So the big factor, one of the biggest factors that contributed to that was that the commission had to take the information about COVID as being fact, that it stopped transmission, it did everything they said. So
yeah. That was based on word of mouth. They weren't actually showing them any evidence of it, of stopping transmission. It was just word of mouth.
Exactly, but it was taken by, I forget the words that were used, but because the commission had to take it as fact that everything that was said about COVID was true.
Yeah, there was a lot of assumptions made by a lot of people with no medical background whatsoever, no scientific background.
And I love their fallback guide. You need to trust the science. So everyone said, okay, it's now time for us to start and a lot of people started to reach out and start to understand science. But then when we started finding out the science, they were all debunking that information because it went against their narrative as well.
Well, and that's, there it is. Trust the science.
Doesn't care.
This video that started this conversation is yes, trust the science. We can't trust the scientists, though.
Well, when you don't have any dissenting or dissenters are not allowed to speak, that's not science.
No, it isn't. But the fact that they muzzle the dissenters and out and out lie about the science.
Correct.
About the science. This whole COVID issue has put the trust in science way back.
Oh yeah, same thing as the medical field.
Especially when you're having people that the government believed in wholeheartedly, like the Robert Malones, and or those people of the world that they relied on, the government relied on them for truth in the past, and now the ones that are all being treated as conspiracy theorists.
Making a difference for you.
It's really mind-boggling when you really think about it, how they how they infiltrated Twitter and Facebook and social
Oh yeah,
media,
sure.
and you mean it's really hard. It's really hard to believe that they actually did it. But the proof is coming out day after day after day that this was actually planned, and it just couldn't have been. They didn't just wing it. Okay, here's a what's the saying? Never let a good crisis go to work.
Go to waste, yes.
Waste.
So there must have been some thought given to all this before this even happened.
Well, what I found telling when this first started, the on the CDC's website, which has since been changed, but they had a document that was written up in 2019 about containment centers for pandemics and how they should be constructed and where and all that happy baloney. And all of a sudden, when the COVID-19 started, that magically got changed to 2021 instead of 2019. Because a lot of people are going, wait a minute here. Why was this being written up in 2019?
You don't have a link to that handy by any chance?
Not right off the top of my head. I don't know. Not right. I can just grab real quick.
Yeah.
But it can be found on there. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Without too much pain. So, but to address like the whole vaccine hesitancy thing and things like that. Well, how could they not expect that to happen? Like one of the things they discussed was people, their public, they're supposed to have public speaker spots during these meetings, and they allowed 4 for 30 minutes, and that was it.
Yeah. I know.
Nobody who had vaccine injury claims, nothing like that. No dissenting scientists or doctors or nothing. That's not going to stop vaccine hesitancy. I hate to tell them. The bad thing about that is if we do have something come across that requires an immediate reaction, we're screwed because they've done shot themselves in the foot.
Yeah. Well, the good news is people are waking up, because I'm just looking at Stats Canada, or the government website here in Canada. So we have so since the boosters came out, there is only 24.6% of the total population has got a booster.
Yeah, it's only 16% here, according to the video that we're speaking of.
So, and those are well, that's up. That's January 29th is when they posted that of this year. So, I mean, I have to say that people are actually waking up and refusing, because they're starting to see videos like this, because it's every now and then there's a little blurb in the mainstream media.
Yeah, but every time there's a little blurb comes along, there'll be a balloon, and it'll distract everybody, or it'll be Ukraine again. They are coming up with so many deceptions out there. To every time you you think everyone's gonna be totally awake, they'll find something else to distract them.
Well, I can only, yeah. I mean, I totally understand, the distractions, but we had like when this first came out, when the boosters first arrived, we had according to the government, we have an 85% primary series completion. So
that's 85% with 2 shots.
Yes. Now, so up to this date, so it wasn't long ago they authorized it under the emergency use. I will clarify, for kids under 5 years of age. So up to this point, there's 4.8% of the kids under 5 have gotten their primary series.
Yeah, I want to say it's under 4% here.
Yeah.
Something I'd like to address on that too, though, is something that was stated in their own stuff, is that they don't have enough data to even assess the efficacy of that because of nobody taking them, or very few people. And as the guy points out, well, anybody that's had a problem with it or knows somebody with it, of course they're not going to.
Well,
so they're trying to use the public to skirt scientific studies. They're trying to use hearsay at most, at best, instead of actual scientific studies to justify their choices when it comes to this out.
Well,
that is a scientific study.
Well, here it
Fly
is.
train in the house.
Hey, Brad. They were saying how the adverse reactions reporting was going way down in that video. And
well, yeah. Gee, I wonder why.
I wonder why.
I can give you a couple ideas, maybe some thoughts, a hypothesis or two.
Yeah, but they didn't qualify that by saying a lot less people are getting shots these days.
Well, but see, that that correlation does not equal causation.
Yeah.
So, but I'm not going to say what I'd like to say in this case, but it still stands. What I'm getting across says what you're saying.
Yeah.
Is they're trying to use public happenings, underreporting, things like that, as a justification for it. That's not scientific.
No, it's like I say, it's they're telling you a story without all the complete information. Saying
Right.
that, of course. Well, I truly, I believe that most of the side effects happen shortly after you receive.
I have a caveat to that.
Okay.
My own pericarditis can rear its ugly head 5 to 10 years later. And I'm not even going to state the numbers of the possibility of the worst case scenarios.
Yeah.
So that's a whole different story or a whole different.
So is that? I'm trying to say this without. I know when you get something like that, the survival rate doesn't look very good after a number of years.
No, it's quite scary. The only silver lining to that is that usually symptoms would have showed up within the first few months.
Yeah.
Now, if we're going to look at athletes, that may not exactly hold true if you want to hypothesize on that. And therein lies another rub with no scientific data. That's the whole thing about this discussion is there isn't any definitive scientific data to make that type of determination.
Well, I'm going to have to disagree with you. I think the data is there. I just think.
Hold on. I'm speaking from a shall we say preferred choice of the data providers. How's that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're getting at.
I know. I think. Well, there's not. Well, there is data there. There isn't as much data as there should be because we haven't had nobody's had enough time to collect the data on short and long-term effects.
Yeah, because generally they don't give things like this until they've finished all their trials, the laboratory trials, until I think Big Dice quoted. Generally, they don't give things like new things out till after probably 5 years of research.
A minimum 5 years would be fast tracked.
But that's what I'm saying is to know if there's going to be any side effects or anything like that, it would generally be a minimum of 5 years.
Well, therein lies the rub, and this is what comes back to this discussion being about the scientific data, which is essentially a big thing about what this video we're discussing is about. This was put through without anything other than assumptions and guesstimations and best case scenario possibilities. Now, I can't say, was it nefarious or was it people wanting to do good things? And as the saying goes, the road to hell is paved by good intentions.
Well, here's the issue I have with this is that this wasn't a drug or
Correct.
something that only 35, 40 million people, were going to end up using.
No, you're talking 7-8 billion people.
You're talking something they wanted to give to everybody in the world. Yep. So it should the standards for a trials for that should be a little more stringent than your normal procedures.
Yeah,
and it should be a lot more stringent because there are a lot more variables.
And Brian, you just have to think about how many items did Johnson and Johnson have to take off their shelves after a lot of their products was found to be carcinogenic and bad for people.
Oh, not only
like Johnson,
not only
Johnson, you understand where I'm coming from. Like it wasn't until years down the track that they found out that there was something wrong, but it was pulled straight off the shelves, straight away.
Well,
but right now they don't want to talk about side effects or anything like that. They just want to keep pushing it.
You tell me, what would be the reaction if the government said everybody, or the WHO says everybody in the world has got to eat a jar of peanut butter?
Yeah.
What do you think the reaction of the people would be?
A
lot of people would probably go for it and go, oh well, if the government tells me to do it, I better eat it.
I don't think that would happen, but
the I know it's a hypothetical thing of what you just said, but I'm giving you a hypothetical answer. I would even believe people with peanut allergies, if the government told them to eat a jar of peanut butter, even though they knew they had peanut allergies, if the government told them to eat it, they would eat it.
Yeah. Well, no, Fry, you can't make pecan butter. You'd have to eat peanut butter. There would be an uproar, and that's something we know that will have, and it's many people would die if that was forced on them. So let's give a untested substance for the very first time to everybody in the world, and let's do it within a year. I mean, that in itself was enough for me to say there's something not right here.
It was like I was being funny. I was being sarcastic to some guys at work, and I said to them, the government's doing this all wrong. If they really want to reduce vaccine hesitance, they just need to inject it in alcohol, because everyone basically drinks alcohol, and they could just put the vaccine inside that, and you wouldn't even know you were having it.
Rick, shut up.
I'd have been vaccine free then.
Yeah, so would I for the most part, but
Me too.
the whole idea of them wanting to combine it with the flu shot and all that stuff has me just. You want to see people stop taking them? That's a good way to do it.
Yeah.
And that's the hesitancy that it's created to me. Like you said before, Brian, you had no problems about getting your tetanus shots, and if you travelled overseas, you'd get your Hep A, Hep B, your Hep C. If you were going to an Asian country, you may get your rabies injections and stuff like that. People did not have any problems if getting vaccines, but this one here, this potion at the moment, that, as Robert was just about to say about including flu shots into it, is going to drive more and more people away from getting it.
Correct.
Anything.
It's going to drive people away from getting, like he said, polio's making a comeback. Well, the reason polio's making a comeback is because they went to third world countries and were doing stupid shit instead of doing what they said they were supposed to be doing. They tried to use an altruistic happening to serve their own gains, governmental whatever, or corporate whatever. And that just made people, okay, well, it's not what it wasn't the Coke they claimed it to be. As I said in the beginning, they were getting orange pop. Well, gee, I wonder, why people don't believe them now.
And you can see, like, probably Brian doesn't realize, you probably do. I know you like finding factual thing about African nation. Africa has only had 15% of its total population that's had 2 vaccines.
Oh, I know.
So how you don't see any numbers out of there.
But you seen Brian? Clearly, you did know about that, about how they're now talking about Marburg. The Marburg virus is going to be the next big thing, especially coming out of Africa. Coincidence?
Well, yeah, I heard that. Was it a week or so ago? That first hit I can't remember how long ago, but I haven't seen a thing about it since. Right?
But they dropped it out there, and all of a sudden, it was like, oh, we told everyone, but no one else showed any interest, so we're not going to talk about it anymore. Type of thing.
It did. It's
like trickle feeding information.
I don't know if the practice room is still listening or not. Probably not, but I will say this. Polio could have been eradicated from this planet had it not been for the stupid shit they did in third world countries. It would no longer be a thing at all. It would be gone. And it's the same thing with this. Well, we don't know why people aren't taking up. Well, gee, you'd have to be an utter moron not to know. It just astounds me at the cognitive hoops people will jump through to claim that, well, that's all fine, that's good, that's great. No, it's not. You don't get to lie to people and get a pass on and expect them to trust you. If you went to a car mechanic and said, hey, well, your car is fixed and it's great, and you go up, drive down the road, and catch on fire, blows up, are they going to trust you? Probably not. And then if they're the only mechanic that has any say and you want to get an alternative opinion on it, well, no, you can't do that. You can't have an alternative opinion.
Well, the issue is it's not we the people that can't have an alternative opinion. It's those that you're going to get the second opinion from can't have an alternative.
Correct. That's what I was getting at.
You know,
that's what I was getting at. As they say, follow the science. Well, science is dissent. That's what makes science advance. Not agreement. It's dissent that makes science advance.
So Jeff, do you have any input? I know you've got 3 having chats right up here. How you going?
Well,
I think they said
the opportunity to go for a smoke. They'll be in
the
chat.
Go ahead, go for a smoke if you want, Brian. Go ahead, Jeff.
my thoughts have always been about this whole thing is that from the very beginning, this was a hoax. They never told us the truth from the very beginning, and they certainly aren't doing it now, and they certainly won't in the future. So how can we trust them?
Well, that's the $1 million question now, isn't it, Chaplain? It's like the boy that cried wolf, or the Chicken Little in the Sky is Falling. We all know the stories. There's a reason why we have them children's nursery rhymes. They're to teach a lesson. Obviously, our politicians didn't have nursery rhymes in school.
So Jeff, you're saying, is it a ploy now for people to not question, like to have reservations with the government, with other things that are happening in the world that your government are involved with?
Can't trust them on anything they say. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's foreign affairs or whatever, health or health insurances or health department, CDC. I mean, that could go on and on.
Yeah, if a politician said the sky was blue, I'd have to open the door and make sure.
Yeah, definitely. And people talk about division between the parties and all that. I don't see a whole lot of difference. There's some, but not a whole lot.
Correct. I agree. There are some with dissenting voices, but not near as many as there should be from both sides, not from just one side or the other. Your political bent shouldn't have anything to do when it comes to a medical, well, in this case, a medical intervention, as it was put. Politics shouldn't even come into play as to what you're left or right leaning. It shouldn't make any difference. But boy, it sure seems to.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be that way because, after all, we're all American, in the United States, we're all Americans, right?
We're all human.
You're all Australians. Should it matter if, well, I don't know how I'm going to put this, but should it matter what party they're from? Is there for all the people? Shouldn't they be representing the people as we elected them to do? or we got to take whatever they tell us. And I say no to that.
Yeah. Even if coming from my own political party, if they were to say, well, yeah, you got to do this, I'd be telling them to go get bent just as quick. But therein lies, and this is the rub, though. As I said, it's been made out to be a political talking point versus a medical one, and that's a huge problem. And that's why I said it shouldn't matter whether they're left or right or in between or what their political bent is when it comes to the medical side of it, because medical is supposed to be scientifically backed. Well, now it's politically backed, not completely scientific. And that's a damn shame.
And also too is science has now become portrayed as an ideology now.
Correct.
You know, like how you need to believe in the science, right? Okay, like man, woman. That's now that I'm not going to go off topic, but I'll just give you that as an example. How they're using science as a weapon now.
Yes, and to use an on-topic one, when a scientist of equal stature and credit has a different opinion on something, they're silenced by the government through censorship. That should never happen. As I said, science is based upon proof and dissent. You have to prove emphatically, and that's what this video talks about, how the data itself, it doesn't hold any water to prove anything that they say. And that's a huge problem. And then they want to talk about, hesitancy and anti-vaxxers and everything. And I hate that, because most people are not anti-vax. They're anti-bullshit. I mean, as Brian said, I understand that if I need to get an update on my tetanus shot, or if you go out of country, there's certain shots that you need to have that's for your health and safety. Just like the polio vaccine. Did it have problems? Yes, sure, certainly. But the overall efficacy and the effect on society was a plus positive.
And also too,
it'd be eradicated.
It was, and also too, Robert, it was if it was your choice to get that particular vaccine, if you thought you're going into a Western country, into an African nation, and it was your choice whether or not you wanted to get like upgrades on your shots, not no jab, no job. Well, excuse me, that's where is choice into it? No, you got no choice now. That even pushed the hesitancy even harder.
Yeah,
putting people's livelihoods to save Granny. And I'm thinking to myself, well,
be a liar. That's the biggest thing, is when they come on and said, get the jab to keep Granny from getting sick, or Grandpa, or whatever. And then turned around and to find out that it doesn't even stop you from spreading it, nor does it stop you from getting sick, nor does it stop you from dying from it. And they wonder why people are, hey, wait a minute here.
Well, there's false information leading to a false security, where all these people that were vaccinated went and visited Grandma.
Yeah.
And the information was there that it wasn't even tested for to stop the spread. So You know, who's going to be held accountable for that misinformation?
Oh, yeah.
Or what about even the most basic thing? Everyone has to wear a diaper. Oh, sorry, everyone has to be at least 6 feet apart. Rightio, great.
Yeah, which
Then
was on a whim.
then you need to be 6 feet apart and a diaper. Then it was 6 feet apart and a diaper, and make sure that you wash your hands. Then it was 6 feet apart. Oh, don't worry about the 6 feet apart. Now it's got to wear 2 diapers, wash your hand, and get a shot. Oh, fuck. Oh, then it got to the point. Even if you're on top of a mountain by yourself, surrounded by no one, the state has mandated everyone has to wear a diaper. You still, if you don't wear a diaper, you get fined. And I went, well, if you're on a mountain by yourself, surrounded by no one, you're clearly you're outside your 6 feet distance you need to be apart. Or who are you going to infect? The law, the mandate states that you have to wear a diaper. What sense is that? What sense is that? But there were people out there just following that.
Yeah, and now they're crying about the pollution from the masks, but where's all the environmentalists? Where's the "how dare you" girl? Where's she at?
Yeah. You had to wear a diaper for the invisible boogeyman, but the people in Ohio, fuck, I can't even say that state anymore. Where the train crash? Yeah, that place. That they've just let off all these chemicals in the air, but it's safe.
Yeah.
Sweet. And I'm going, you've told everybody that all these chemicals that were in the train, they needed to do a controlled burn and blow it all up. And it's all good for those people in that town to walk around without any form of hazmat or anything like that. All good. But when it comes to the invisible boogeyman, you had to wear a diaper. Make sense? No.
Yeah. I do want to point out something quick that Andy did post up that is absolutely just nuts. They want to turn over the in a lot of countries the control of pandemics to the World Health Organization, an unelected board of people who are funded mostly by well, we know who. And the head is a veterinarian who specializes in goat health. What movie is this in? Is this a comedy? A horror story? Which is it? That's just nuts, insane. And if that happens, I don't care what the hell they say. They can kiss my happy white American rear end. Michelle, I'm glad you like the discussion, and I'm trying to keep it as non-political as I can, and just pointing out how the politics have creeped in.
How do you pick somebody else's house?
Pardon?
Okay.
Oh, goodness.
She's telling me she smells a skunk, and so do I.
Oh, I think he's great.
Dice, I'm not even going to put that one up, but that is true.
No, I mean, there's a skunk out here, and we can smell it. And I said, well, let him pick somebody else's house.
Just go out there and shoo him away with a broom. He won't mind.
No, but I'll get sprayed.
I have 2 labs. Trust me, we've had to bathe labs several times from that.
Yeah.
My big one likes to play with them, so he always gets it right straight in the face.
Because he's a moron.
But
Hey, don't complain, Paula. They're your kids.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
Fur
know.
babies.
So you have any other takeaways on that, Brian?
On the WHO taking over pandemic responses for the world?
Well, that and the video we were discussing.
Well, I mean, like I say, I didn't have time to go double check, but it's it's like it seems like all the information is, all the science is there. We're just not allowed to see it because it doesn't support somebody's narrative, and it's seemed pretty blatant to me, even without seeing that video.
Well,
Everything that I've checked and looked at numbers, and it just doesn't make any sense.
well, the reason I'm having this discussion is it is on a video that's posted out with cited sources using the CDC's own data. So give me a strike this time and see what happens. Remember those lawsuits we're talking about? They ain't happened yet. Yeah, well, we might see one. What's your thoughts on the WHO overtaking things?
Hey, before you go on, Robert,
Yes.
can someone in the chat please give me an update on Nexus? If anybody is watching Vic's stream at all, can someone please give me an update how Oklahoma is going?
Nexus says the first wave of the storm is past, but second wave is bad. So he's still in chat. He's doing okay.
Still in one piece.
Still in one piece. He said his anxiety is like.
I bet.
As long, maybe Nexus is on top of the roof in his mankini being a weather vane. Trying to scare the storm away.
Mrs. T told him to get to his safe place.
That could mean a lot of things.
Well,
okay, guys, thanks very much. Thanks for the update. I've got to head off anyway again.
All right, Rick, you have a good one, buddy.
Jeff, Brian, Robert, Paula, everybody in the chat, everyone take care.
That bad in there?
Yes.
All right, Rick, have a good one.
Okay, bye.
Mrs. T posted tornado warning, including
Well, the issue I have with the WHO is there's never a one size fits all, and I mean we've seen that over and over again, and to have unelected officials controlling.
Yeah, dictating.
It's like, I mean, what could possibly go wrong? I mean, we have a prime example over the last 3 years. What can go wrong? And that, I just don't know.
Because I want him to know what I got from her today, and I don't know what she's talking about.
Are you speaking to us, Chaplain?
Well, I'm talking to my wife.
Oh. You had me a little puzzled as to what you were talking about there, guy.
I was talking about something that's happening out here in the outside the house. I said, I don't know what's going on with that situation with that skunk. I really don't feel like going out there messing with it.
No, not a good idea.
Yeah, well, there's not much you can do if it's already sprayed.
Well, I'll probably go out and discover tomorrow where it's sprayed.
Yeah, I think you could probably only make matters worse now by going out.
Well, if I wouldn't, I'd make it matters worse on me. I'd be in the shower running water over me all night.
Yeah.
Just gotta let it take its course.
Yeah, my problem is one, as you said, a one size fits all thing doesn't work. Two, It's an outside entity of unelected people whose funding are from, shall we say, questionable means. You know, there's no conflict of interest there at all. Hint, hint, sarcasm.
Right.
And that, to me, destroys the sovereignty of each nation to live by their own choices.
Well,
And I'm heavy on that one.
yeah, me too.
You know, and that video that I had to take down, the caveat to that on the original, now that I've had a chance to see it, is that, you know, his claim was that they wanted to make the vaccinations available to all people, but yet they wouldn't drop the patents for third world countries to be able to do that. So he talks on both sides of his mouth.
Yeah.
So
Not quite as much money involved, right?
yeah, exactly. But anyways, anybody else have anything to add? If not, I'm going to wrap this up. It's been a good discussion.
Yeah, I think we.
I like that name, Courteous Maximus.
What's that?
I love that name, Courteous Maximus, on here.
Artemis Maximus? Yeah.
That's a good name.
He's a good guy, too.
But to have a name like that, he's got to be a good guy.
So anyways, the link to the Trialsite news site is in the description. I do suggest everybody watch it, as I think Brian will attest. It is a good discussion by qualified people. Everything's laid out right there in front of you. Really easy to understand. And if nobody has anything to add, I'm going to
I ain't got anything to add.
shut this down, and hopefully YouTube doesn't give me a big old banana for it. But we'll see what happens. I'll be interested to see.
If they do,
Yeah,
we'll make
not
the banana split.
Yeah. It's a discussion that needed to be had.
Yeah.
And it gave me the opportunity to put it out there. And we really didn't have to censor much to have this discussion now.
No, it seems the worst offenses now is bad language.
Yeah, what the frick?
Yeah, it's
Holy crap.
YouTube's
Chaplain.
I think YouTube's running
I
a
couldn't
little.
resist.
YouTube's running a little scared on censorship as far as medical misinformation and.
Well, that's another discussion I want to have in the future too, because
They ought to be.
in my opinion, if they're going to allow people to talk about things that are absolutely absurd,
Yeah.
They are too.
then what's wrong with having open dialogue and debate about things that are in the real world, you know?
True.
So, anyways, I'll bid everybody in the chat good night.
Yep.
And I will be shutting this down. If you want to hang for a second, Brian, Chaplain, you're more than welcome to stay too if you'd like.
I gotta get the bid anyway, so.
All right. Well, and then in that case, you have a good night. And I will, now that I don't have my granddaughter, I will see you at your next one, hopefully.
Yep.
And everybody take care and chat. Talk to you soon.
Okay, talk to
Good
you
night,
later.
all.
Night, everybody.